Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Championship Leadership Podcast, and I am with Elizabeth Lyons. She's a country artist, singer-songwriter out of Nashville, and just thank you so much for taking some time to be with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always love to ask this question first. Championship Leadership is the name of the podcast, and what is present for you, or what comes to your mind when you hear championship leadership? What does that mean to you?
Oh, wow. Probably my parents.
I love it. That's great.
They've always been an example of being a champion of themselves and their careers, but also us as a family unit. And I have two sisters, and, supporting us and helping guide us and follow our dreams. And just, they've always been champions of everything from just being true to who you are and confident. And I guess they're just champions of my life, I guess. So that would be what comes to my mind. And they've taught me so much about leadership and provided me with childhood of having a lot of opportunities to play sports or be active or do, creative things in the arts, and really just get to try a bunch of different things and then end up being committed to things that you felt the most passionate about, and then becoming a leader in those things. So for me, they're my champions.
Yeah, I love it. Shout out to your parents. And, I think you're probably the first one. Well, maybe not the first one, but one of the first to come up with that answer. So it's incredible. Like, that's where it should be at, right? Like, ideally, especially as a parent myself, I hope my kids have that answer as well. So something to attain or achieve for myself. So.
Me too. I'm like, pressure's on when I have kids. I don't have kids yet.
Yeah, right. I'm sure you'll do great. There's no manual to it, but we all figure it out. So what about, you said you have two sisters. So are you the only one in the music business, or where did this passion come from?
Yes. I've always been a performer in home videos.
Yeah.
I'm always commanding the living room, the kitchen, whether we're decorating the Christmas tree or cutting pumpkins. I've always singing or dancing or commanding the spotlight. And my whole family loves music. My sister Gabrielle has a great ear for music and is usually really good at predicting like what's going to be like the next single for artists and such. And she used to make burn CDs back in the day. And, so I say that she has an ear for music, but she cannot really sing at all. My other sister, Alex, I've seen her do karaoke several times, and she has probably a better voice than me, but does not like being in the spotlight as much. But they are super creative and super talented. They sang at my wedding a 10-minute song that they wrote, a medley of songs, and they rewrote the lyrics. So they definitely have this songwriting ability and the singing ability. But I always wanted them to be Dixie Chicks or Spice Girls with me, but they were not interested. So now I'm a solo artist. So
I love it. That's awesome, man. That's too bad. So when, like, along your journey, when did you really know that this was just something that you had to pursue and that you wanted to do for a living, for a life?
Well, I've always like performed. Even I would have my sisters and my cousins. I'd recruit them, and we'd put on these shows in our backyard, and we charge $1 for tickets and have all the neighbors come. And I started playing classical piano at a young age, like when I started to read it, like pre-K. And then moved into church choir, and then started doing musical theater productions. I was in 18 musicals, thankful for my mom driving me to all those rehearsals growing up. And so I've always been involved in performing or music or dance. And I didn't think I was confident or wasn't the best. I went to a big public high school where I wasn't always the main part, and I didn't think that I or knew anyone that made it as an artist or singer-songwriter in my town. And so I moved down to Nashville when I was 18 to intern in the music business, in music publishing. And I saw the songwriting community in Nashville and had an amazing boss who mentored me and would give me assignments every Friday, like do an open mic, write a song, go into the studio, try to open up for an artist. And I ended up moving down to Nashville full time a year later, and transferred from Wisconsin, Madison to Vanderbilt University.
Go Badgers.
Go Badgers. Yeah. and I, I always say like I released my first EP my senior year of college, and I like all of my success with that EP was word of mouth. And my Midwest and having family in Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, the Midwest was the first to support my music, and it ended up charting on iTunes and became an album all-time bestseller. And I sold over 100,000 songs, and I hadn't even graduated college yet. I mean, it was this whirlwind of a dream that I had that I didn't think anyone I didn't think I could do it. And then here I was living it my senior year of college, which was really cool. So that's obviously the quick synopsis of it. But yeah.
Yeah, a lot of ups and downs and other things that went into it behind that, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. A lot of tears, a lot of late nights, but you just get through it.
Yeah, especially today, people will see the wins or the success, or they see when you've made it, right? But especially as a championship leader, man, there's a lot of points where you probably question whether or not this is something that you really should be doing, or like when, I'm doing all this work, like when am I actually going to see some of the fruits of the intense hours that you put in to perfect your skill set, to become a better performer, singer, also a songwriter. I mean, there's just so many things that go into it. And then especially in the music business, it's a little bit of who you know, or being in the right place at the right time. And again, but continuing to put the reps in, and it all comes down to really, are you committed or not to this? Right.
I mean, it's such a roller coaster ride. And, there's been so many highs and lows with that. You have something big that happens, like, I remember the first time I got asked to play Milwaukee Summerfest. Was like the largest music festival, and that was the first festival that booked me. And it's such a high, and you're like, oh my God, this is so great. And then you get like a no from an industry person or someone that you are trying to be a part of your team. And for me, having now, I've spent nearly a decade trying to make a successful music career for myself, carrying my own keyboard, playing any gig or performance I could get. A year ago, I really was super lost and felt like I hit a wall. I was going through like such a hard time, and I needed to remember to believe in myself. And that's actually when I wrote Epiphany, which is the song I, released today. And I was just in a particular low point and needed to remind myself to not give up, and that still believe in myself, and that I just had to be me, because, I had all these successes in my career as an independent artist, but yet the industry, was still rejecting me. And I felt like through my journey, I was feeling pressure of needing to conform to the Nashville way, and felt like I was being influenced of trying to be like other people in Nashville, or what people in Nashville were trying to tell me to be, or conforming to their standard. And I realized that I just needed to reject that societal pressure of, you know, people telling me you should be this, or you should have pink hair, you should, you know, write about this, and just say, you know what, I'm going to believe in myself, and I'm just going to be who I am. I'm going to, you know, the girl that moved down to Nashville when she was 18 years old and had this dream, and not let the pressures of this world that we live in hinder who I am, and just try to be my true self and inspire others to do the same, because I know I'm not the only one going through this. And no matter what career you're in or what you're going through in life, just finding that strength and coming from a place of honesty and vulnerability and heart, and doing, you know, and also finding your voice and being independent and strong and empowering others and inspiring others to believe. So
yeah, I'm excited. Like you said, you got the new EP Epiphany coming out here today, and we're excited to get that out. And definitely, if you're listening to this, check it out. It will be linked in the show notes, and we'll be spreading that out to help with the success of that. But did you really have someone tell you should have pink hair?
Yes, literally. Yes. And I think it's like, you know, I understand why they wanted me to have pink hair, but I think sometimes when you've been somewhere for so long and there's so many people telling you the way that you should be, you kind of forget who you are. And I had to leave Nashville, and I actually wrote Epiphany in New Orleans. And New Orleans is such a place of tradition and culture and roots of music. And I just spent the last year writing and figuring out what I wanted to say and going back to really who I am, you know, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, which is what you see me in the Epiphany lyric video that's going to be released next week. You know, that's the essence of who I am. It's not, I love sparkles and I love the cowboy boots and I love all of that, but I think a lot of the last few years was me trying to be someone that I truly, honestly wasn't when I was that girl growing up, you know, in Illinois. So it's easy to get sucked into trying to be someone that you're not, and you just have to be yourself. And if people like that, then great. And if not, then that's okay. Because not everyone's going to like you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, yeah, I think the sooner you can recognize that and be okay with it. I mean, it's so hard, right? I have young kids, and one in middle school right now, and the pressure. I mean, I'm sure you can remember. I can remember my days in middle school, and they weren't some of my best, my favorites. You know, because you're just so worried about who likes who and what, you know, what to wear, and like just there's so much pressure from an early age, and so it can sometimes stick with you really long. But yeah, how are you able to get to that point? Because especially in the entertainment business, and I think, you know, it's true in any industry really, I mean, but how were you able to get to that point? Like, was there someone that has guided you along the way in the music industry that you've kind of leaned on as a coach and a mentor, someone that, you know, has had the experience of what you want, has taken you under their wing, or where does that come from?
Yes. So, you know, I learned a lot about what it means to be yourself. I feel like in being alone and writing a lot of different versions of this song, and letting, you know, the tears fall out, and, you know, really thinking about what, you know, being fully transparent and vulnerable. And I think that has brought a new joy and intimacy in my life. And I've learned that my confidence and strength comes from my soul and not being influenced by others or anyone else. And that no one needs to accept you other than yourself and God. And I think that I had to find like that music that was totally me, that no box like to fit in, no guidelines or rules. Also writing by myself. But, you know, Nashville is a big songwriting, co-writing community. And, but sometimes you get pushed in different directions that aren't you, and making sure that I felt that confidence in me as a solo songwriter, and not being pushed in this direction. And that's, Epiphany is about having the definition of epiphany is a moment or sudden revelation where there's a change that is made in some way, and discovery or realization or disclosure or insight. And I think for me, it just took time. I co-wrote Epiphany with Georgia Thomas Edgeworth, who's a songwriter who's known me for the last few years, and I've wrote with her for years. She's also tried to be an artist in Nashville and knows a lot of the things that I was struggling with. My family and them being through this journey with me, because as you know, you go through things as a family, and we are so close. And so I couldn't do it without them. I also have amazing mentors. John Marks told me he's the head of Spotify for country, and he told me to work with Lauren Spahn, who's a super smart lawyer in Nashville, who helped really, like, every week I'd call her and send her songs, and we worked through, figuring out, just kind of helping me through. It was like therapy, kind of, and helping me push a little bit each week. And I'm so thankful for her guidance. It really takes a team and of people that you really trust, and that help you, make you aware and acknowledge the things that you need to attention to and the things that I just need to let go.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important, that team that you talk about. And the most important piece of that is what you also said was the team that you can trust. And, it's not just that you can trust, but in a way, you don't want to just surround yourself with people that are going to tell you what you want to hear. If you really want to be a championship level leader like you do, and to go where you want to go in this industry, there's a lot of people in Nashville like you that come with dreams and hopes, and for some it never works out, right? It's just, there's so many people. And so to shine through that, it takes being committed, it takes having a great team, and also this team that's willing to tell you some of the things that maybe you don't necessarily want to hear, but you do because you know that it's for the good of you and the team, right?
Completely. And I think after being in this industry for nearly a decade, it's, important to have those people that you trust that help you to also ignore those voices in your head, and ignore that you're not good enough, or ignore any doubt, and really empower you to keep fighting, empower you to keep being yourself, empowering you to believe, and empower you to not give up, but also to be honest with you and be like, no, this song is terrible. This song is really great, so it's been been a really fun year and journey to get to where I am today.
Talk more about Epiphany, the new single coming out, and what's the inspiration? What are some of the epiphanies that you had in writing this song? Like, take us.
Well, I think what's cool is when I originally wrote this song, I was having an epiphany in that moment, right? But I realized through writing the song and several different versions of the song that throughout life you have epiphanies. And whether it was my first, piano sonatina festival where I got my first, blue ribbon, and where I was like, wow, like I'm actually really good at this. And it's not only a place where I turned to it when I was down or felt like lonely or felt like I wasn't included at a sleepover slumber party, and I'd go play piano in those moments, right? This is more than that. It's like I actually have talent. Or when I didn't get a main part for musical theater production that I wanted to get, and I realized I had to just keep working harder and to get to where I wanted to be. The epiphany where I decided to move down to Nashville and leave my family and all my friends and not know anyone, and live in an apartment with 4 girls that I didn't know, and then there was the epiphany of I'm going to put out music that I wrote on MySpace and see what happens.
MySpace. Yeah.
MySpace. And, and then it's like, oh my gosh, people love this. I'm going to record an EP album. And there's all these epiphanies throughout life. Those are just some that are like music related, but also like, personally, I'm sure you've had epiphanies and such, but this song really means to me, it's empowering, it's anthemic, it's honest, it's raw, it's emotional. And I hope that it touches other people's hearts and it helps other people get through a hard time that I had, and turn it into something like light and bright and positive.
Yeah, is that important to you, from a songwriting and performing? Like, is that what drives you? I don't want to answer it for you, but yeah, what really drives you behind the music outside of, there's probably the external stuff of like, yeah, you want to make it, you want to make a great living for yourself, and you want to entertain people. But yeah, what's the other internal pieces which I think really drive us, right?
And the funny thing is, if I was listening, I rarely listen to my music, but now that I have like this new release, I've been reflecting and going through some old stuff. And I realized every single one of my songs I've ever put out has a silver lining of hope and sunshine. And people always call me like sunshine. I won a Sunshine Award in college, and I think, what do you say?
I said, that's awesome. Yeah.
It's awesome. And yeah. I think that, I also realized through this hard time that I love to inspire people, and that's really rewarding for me. And throughout my life, that I feel like I've always been that strength of inspiration for people. And all of my music has that ray of hope. And I think that's what I hope to continue to do, is to try to always be real and like be honest, but always try to find that positive aspect of life.
Yeah, especially today more than ever. I think that we could use a little bit more of that. So I'm so happy.
Yeah. Well, it's hard, like you want to keep things positive. And I think for a long time, I didn't want to talk about like my struggle as much, like in interviews or like with people. I didn't want to go there. Yeah. But I feel like by going there, I think it helps others to be more inspired and helps people to understand that you can overcome the fear of rejection or pressures and influence the world more by trying to be your true self and being honest and not conforming to what people think you should be or how you should act.
Yeah, 100% right. I mean, you're more relatable that way because we all have those struggles, right? And we're like, oh man, Elizabeth Lyons, she's so incredible. She's so amazing. She's so talented. And she actually deals with some of the same things that I do. Like, wow, you can connect at such a deeper level that way, right?
Totally. And I think everyone's received, rejection or doors, countless doors closed. And, I called people and had them hang up on me and then called them right back. And
sorry, I must have lost you. Must have been a bad connection. I don't know what happened.
And I just want people to constantly know to believe in themselves and follow their heart and not give up on their dreams or themselves, whatever it may be.
That's incredible. Yeah, I love it. Here's a question I want to ask you, because especially for you, I'm guessing there might be a number of these events in your life, but kind of talk about we all have a turning point or 2 or 10, just a moment where, it would be very easy to go left, which is kind of the route that a lot of people end up going. And then for whatever reason, you decided you were going to go right. Like, and if you had not made that choice to maybe go down the less traveled path, you might not be in Nashville. You might not be releasing Epiphany today. And there might be a lot of things that are different in your life. You might be in a totally different career path. Like, is there a moment or two that come to mind for you that you could share? Because I think, again, when we talk about relating to others, and because we all have those moments, and it's sometimes it is hard to know which way to choose, and it helps to hear how like people like yourself, dealt with those times.
Definitely. It's so funny because this similar topic of like the unknown, the uncontrolled, is my next single that I'm releasing in 2020. Awesome. And I wrote the lyrics to the song when I was 24 years old, and I finished the song when I was 27 years old. And I had felt, I was super successful when I had I felt like I was pretty successful when I had graduated college. I'd already had, I was opening for artists, booking myself set shows. Yeah. I had put out this music. I was making good money. And 24 comes around 2 years later, and I'm not feeling as successful, with Spotify coming out. I wasn't making as much money on iTunes because people weren't buying music. Okay. The industry making changes with it becoming more difficult as an independent artist, opening up for artists. And I was also seeing like all of my friends who were 2 years out of college, and they were maybe, making more money and living a different lifestyle than I was, going to an office every day. And I was working for myself at the time. And I realized that everyone has different paths, and that everyone's path is different. And throughout life, you have successes and other people have successes, and we have to celebrate everyone's successes and our own in those moments. So that, one of my mentors told me, which I love, is celebrate the successes for 5 minutes and celebrate. And then you can be all sad and upset when you have like your losses for like 2 minutes. Yeah. And I think that throughout my whole career, but particularly I think at that age 24, and then again 27, which was a year ago, I had those moments of like, oh my gosh, like I feel a little lost. And am I doing the right thing? Is this the path that I'm supposed to be on? Or should I just go jump into a career where I could be making a lot more money and maybe have a little bit more comforting lifestyle, but am I going to love it? Probably not. And, I ended up, I was needing to get a job for insurance purposes as well. And so I ended up getting a job. And actually the funny thing was, I moved to New York, and I was an assistant for the president and CEO of a big media company, and they own a bunch of radio stations. And it's funny, in that moment, I think a lot of people thought I was giving up music. Yeah. And it was really because I had to get this job, but it was also from a creative standpoint, I felt like I had hit a wall when I was moving there, and I needed a change because I felt stuck in the Nashville ways. And through this job, gave me confidence that I needed again, right? And I gained that confidence through being around my boss, who was a woman CEO, and she was an amazing, and still is an amazing mentor to me. And just realizing like, wow, like I'm pretty great. Like all this rejection I had, like I should focus more on like, wow, like these are so many great accomplishments I've had, and I'm going to continue to make while working this job. I'm going to still do music. And every Friday I'd, leave work with my guitar and my luggage and go play shows, and open up for Florida Georgia Line that summer. And all these artists like Brantley Gilbert and Blake Shelton that I had looked up to. And I still was doing that while doing my job, and felt so much extra reward from working and inspiration. And I ended up finishing 24 in New York with a bunch of New York co-writers was writing with up there. And I just think life is so funny. And when you look back, you see all those moments of, you kind of piece them together of like, oh, wow, that was why that happened the way that it was supposed to. And you just have to remind yourself that God has a plan, and you just have to follow your heart and try to find the positive. So
beautiful story. I love it. That's a great example of, making that decision, leaving Nashville, going to New York. And to many, they maybe did think that there was you giving up, but really it wasn't. It was allowing you a new environment to stay creative and let's be real, like out of that scene and in a new one, and to continue to perform to different set of people, a different audience, right? And
yes,
all the great things that came out of it to get you where you are today. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I would like to wrap it up here. We have the big release today, right? Epiphany. So we're excited about that. What are one or two things before we get into like how they can find it and how they can listen to it and help and share that single that's coming out? Like, what are one or two things that you could leave the listeners with that might really impact them or help them in their journey?
Oh, wow.
Putting you on the spot.
Well, no, I love it. I hope that when I wrote Epiphany, I felt like I had hit a wall, and I needed to remind myself to not give up and to believe in myself again. And I wrote this song because I had an epiphany and a moment of understanding and why my path was the way that it was. And I lost who I was and gained my confidence back, and knew that I needed to believe in myself and that I needed hope, and that I needed to just be true to who I was and ignore all of the pressures of this world. And especially with social media and people dressing a certain way or acting a certain way, or, everyone has an opinion, and you just have to focus on what makes you you, and know that that is the most important thing you can do in life. And I hope that I will continue to inspire you. And if you've enjoyed this, like, find me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Listen to my music on Spotify and Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon, Google, wherever you listen to music, YouTube, and join me on this journey that I continue to live. And I hope to join you on your journey too. That's one of my favorite parts of this journey, is all the people that I've met along it. And
I bet.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine. Just all the people that you do get to meet has to be incredible. And so, yeah, you mentioned a little bit, but yeah, where specifically can we go and get the release of this? Of course, I'm going to get this out to and all of the links that we'll put in the show notes as well, so it's easy for them to find. But yeah, just let us know the best place to go.
Yes, my website is www.elizabeth, ELIZABETH, Lyons, LYONS, music, MUSIC.com. And that's your place where you can see everything, where all the links for the music and my socials are. That's probably the easiest place you can just go and check it out.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for taking the time today, and excited, and congratulations on the new release of Epiphany. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for your time, and keep doing what you're doing. I'm a big fan.
Thank you.